So a guy got to editing the other day, and while he was editing this video, he realized the camera glitched up, no sound, little squiggly, squaggly lines, and next thing you know, you lost a bunch of video. But the second part of the video recorded. So a guy realized, gonna have to re-record the first video. Lovely, great. So let's talk about what we got. In today's video, we're taking a look down memory lane. That's right, a Pentium 4. She's pretty. She's got the beige action going on over here. Oh, that kind of fell in. That'll be fine. And she was made back in, let's see what we got here, 2003. So she's a little old, about 18 years old, but it's okay. It's okay. Some people may say junk. I say classic. Maybe it's just classic junk. But either way, it's a Pentium 4, and it's a great trip down memory lane. So let's talk about it. Let me go back a while. The year is 2003. I'm in high school. I got a nice brand new car from my rich parents. Great grades, beautiful looking girlfriend, popular, captain of the football team. Everything's going great, and I'm able to play my games when I come home at top quality gaming performance. No, definitely not. 2003, let's see, chess club, marching band. I hid from gym class, got thrown in the lockers, got beat up, had no car, had to take the bus, and I was rocking, I think, an Athlon XP, the low end model, and only rocking a 32 gigabyte video card. So yeah, would have been nice though, but still, now I could take this, and because this computer is probably only worth maybe $50 for everything combined, I can build the computer of my dreams. So let's take a look at it. So this is the Pentium 4. This is the 2.4 version of it. These were released back in 2003, went up to, I believe, 2008, where they switched to the hyper threading. This is only single cores. So now this already has the upgrades from part 2. So if you want to see what these upgrades are, you'll have to watch part 2 of this video when it does come out, or if it's not out, either or, I'll put a link one way or the other. Has the Intel D845PE SV motherboard, and this one supports up to a 3 gigahertz CPU as long as you want to flash the BIOS. This one actually came with 256 megs of RAM, weak sauce, but it was enough to get by. The graphics cards that it had that I was able to put in it was a Radeon 9600 SC with 128 megabytes of RAM. Lovely. Let's kind of get you guys inside over here to kind of see what we're looking at. All right. And like I said, all these other goodie parts, you'll see it in part 2 of this video, and all this other lovely glory stuff over here. Let's take a look at the back and the I/O. We'll talk about that in a sec. So this is our back I/O, parallel port, serial port, classy. Got our DVIs, onboard sound, Ethernet, and USB 2.0. And with this one, we're going to be rocking Windows XP. Yes, Windows XP. I still love XP. You know, that was a good operating system for a while. I kind of switched to 2000, Windows 2000 later on in life, but for the most part, XP got the job done, and I was very happy with it. Now, the games that I'm going to be playing with this, we're going to be playing Need for Speed 2, which is Need for Speed Underground, which is probably one of my most favorite games that I ever played in this era of computing. Great game. Some of the new Need for Speeds, they're okay, but there was just something about that one that was amazing. And then Need for Speed 2 was just, it was good. It was definitely good. We'll be doing a little Max Payne on it and some other games that I could think of. I think I did Vampire Masquerade. That's another one we'll be doing. But that's what we're going to be taking a look at. And then for our hard drive, we're going to have a 160 gig Western Digital Caviar, fancy Caviar hard drive. We got our floppy drive, and we got some DVD action over here and CD-ROM action going on over here. Floppy cables, oh yes, how beautiful the floppy cables were. Gotta love these guys. These things were just, they were great. They were great. I remember when they changed them to a little bit where, oh, that's fine. But I remember when they changed them and they had the ones that were kind of spiraled up a little bit over here, and they had that little, I don't know, little silicone rubber thing. It made them nice and clean. They were actually pretty good over here. As far as this tape, most of you guys be asking what this tape is. The power supply that came in this thing is junk. I mean, it was complete junk. Didn't want to turn the computer on, and I didn't trust it. So we ain't gonna mess with a sketchy power supply. Yeah, I know. We weren't gonna mess with the sketchy power supply, and we actually put in the EVGA 450 watt one. I think it was the W3 variant. Yeah, the W3 variant, and that power supply worked great. It gave us the port that we needed for our floppy drives. Wish I had a little extra Molex, but it was great to get this thing running, and this computer ran fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it apart, and I'll show a little montage of that, taking it apart. We're going to put it on the bench, and when we put it on the bench, we're going to install Windows XP, put some games, and see how this thing runs. Now, typically when I get these old computers, I like to put them on the bench. Number one, I want to make sure they're clean, they're not shorted, and they're not going to set my house on fire, because I've actually had some of these old computers where it was not disclosed what the issue was. You turn it on and smoke, sizzle, crackle, and pop. Not Rice Krispies, but close enough, and it gets kind of scary and sketchy. And I don't think my wife would like if I set the house on fire, so that probably would not be too good. So let's go ahead to the montage. Let's take this thing apart, let's put it on the bench, and once we get on the bench, we'll talk about installing Windows XP, our plan for it, and we'll see how this thing plays. And then in part 2 of this video, we'll upgrade it, and we'll do some good things with that. So let's switch to the past DLM Tech Garage, where the video was still good, and this is from the future DLM Tech Garage, where I realized the first part of the video wasn't good. Something like that. Confusing, I know. But let's switch. You gotta love when your camera decides not to work and you start recording and you start talking, and then next thing you know, you realize, oh, camera's not working. So, all right, a few things happened off camera, and let's talk about them. So real quick, we were able to figure out the pinout. It went over here, and after looking online, I realized I wasted time because the motherboard tells you right here exactly where it goes. It's good. Learning curves on that. Second thing, I decided I was going to use initially a USB with the easy to boot drive, and well, I decided for the nostalgia aspect of it, let's go ahead, let's use a CD drive, or in this case a DVD drive, and let's install Windows XP the classic way. So boot it up, and I'll give you an image and all that stuff in the BIOS boot up where it says Intel Pentium 4 and all that good stuff and everything. So put it in, boot up into it, and we're ready to install our partition. So let's take a look over here. Let's press this button over here. Let's delete our partitions because I don't know what's on here. I've had this drive for a while and I don't know, could be nothing. So we're going to delete it, do a quick that, and then we'll install Windows XP Professional Setup. I was able to find a CD that I had lying around with it and all that good stuff. Let's install Windows, we'll take a look at it, and try to get some games action going. Well, better yet, let's install Windows, and then what we'll do is after we do that, we'll go ahead, we'll put it back in the case, get everything working, show some game action over here. Got a couple of games I'm interested in trying out, Need for Speed, some Half-Life, and we'll see if we can have some nostalgia, memory fun with our Pentium 4 computer. So let's get to it. Alright, so we got it back in the case, cleaned up, everything looks pretty decent for the most part for our retro build. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to install all the drivers. So a program that I found that I have used for these old retro builds when I used to do them way back in the day, as this starts installing drivers, of course my screen blanks out, is called Snappy Driver Install, And this program over here actually works great. What it's doing right now is it's actually installing the drivers, rebooting Windows as need be. So it has all the drivers. I mean, it's like over 10,000 drivers. It works for XP, 2000, I think 98. It also has support for and ME. And what it does is it reinstalls all the drivers as need be, and then I don't have to worry about getting online, transferring back and forth. And this has been pretty reliable and stable for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and let this continue installing all the drivers, and then we should be able to put some games in here and game and see how this thing performs. Alright, let's go through some games and let's take a look at how they were back in the day. So the first game we're going to take a look at is Vampire Masquerade: The Redemption. Man, I remember playing this game and I love this game. I mean, look at these graphics, just the polygons, just, I don't know. Well, not necessarily polygons, but they were just amazing back in this day, just thinking about it. And I remember playing this game with like a 32 meg video card and an Athlon Duron and just lagging. I mean, yeah, we're not in no action scenes right now, but this thing just runs phenomenal. And it runs great to be playing these games that I used to love playing way back in the day and just playing with some amazing specs. So definitely a trip down memory lane and something that I'm very happy to see and enjoy. So I'm going to play this for a little bit, and just real quick, we're at 60 frames per second, 1920 by 1080 resolution. I'm going to play this for a few more and then we'll go on to our next game. So the next game we're going to take a look at is Need for Speed Underground. This was quite frankly my go-to game. I love this game. I put so many hours into it. I beat it and I beat it again. This was probably, in my opinion, one of the best Need for Speeds that I ever played. The second one is even awesome because you had more of that free world play on it. But this game was just phenomenal. I just love playing it, and just looking at the graphics now, I mean, they look pretty decent. I can't seem to change them because unfortunately the version of this game that I have, the language is kind of skewed, so I don't know. And I'm sure that I would like to up the graphics on these and make them smoother, but hey, it is what it is. At least I could play the game. We're at what, 30 to 35, 40 frames per second, maybe occasional 30. Oh, this game was just amazing to play back in the day. Just hours and hours. And for any of you that played this game or haven't played this game, this is one game that just buying these old Pentium 4s is just worth it in itself. I mean, I will probably try to get myself a copy of Need for Speed Underground 2 and just go ahead and play that. But for now, we're just going to play this one, and maybe I'll find a version that's in English so I could play with my settings and everything. But this was just the way the game was able to be played, and I just loved it. So I'm going to play this a little more, and let's go to our next one, which the one I'm sure everybody is wondering. Can this system play Crysis? So can it play Crysis? Nah, not really. I think we're running into a few issues. Number one, this only has 256 megs of RAM, and I think this game requires at least a gig, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Well, it's sort of playing, but our frames are just horrific, and we keep dropping to 1, 3. Yeah, I've been dealing with this the whole time. The other issue is that this game was actually more ideal. Just look at the settings for Core 2 Duo, and we're running a Pentium 4, so that could be the other issue. And our graphics card is a 9600 SC with 128 meg, so those are a few factors that we're running into. So yeah, now let's talk about this build, my thoughts, and we'll wrap this up. So as I talk about my experience building this, I figure I'd leave Crysis to torture this computer as much as this computer tortured me. So let's talk about it. Number one, the biggest thing I can say for this is that we are so spoiled. Number one, Steam has spoiled us and all these things, and the fact that we don't have to swap CDs or DVDs. We don't have to worry about a stack of CDs and DVDs to play our games, CD keys and all that jazz and everything. So we have gotten extremely spoiled with that. Number two, speeds. Oh my gosh. Installing programs and everything, just click on the internet, install it. Or if I had to drag files to here, it just took forever to do it. That was one issue that I kept on running into. And then, you know, DVD drives, or some of them are reliable, unreliable, and yeah, that was kind of the headache that I mostly had for installing Windows. Was easy, but as far as putting in these games, they took forever to install. I know we only looked at 3 games. There was a couple other games I looked at, but we just could not get them running on that. So yeah, that was sort of a nightmare in that retrospect. But honestly, it was great to play Need for Speed Underground. It was also great to play Vampire Masquerade. I do have Max Payne, but I'm actually going to save that for the next video, and we'll talk about that just in a second. And as far as Crysis, we're going to give it one more shot. I doubt if it'll be able to play on this Pentium 4 single core, but we're going to give it one more shot with a few upgrades and see what it can do. So retro gaming, Pentium 4. I will say I do miss Windows XP. I do miss some of these games and the way they were. I love the new stuff that's out, but nothing but like going back to your childhood and just enjoying these old classic games, which, yeah, you could do some virtual machine and stuff like that, but it's just cool to have that system the way it is, just retro with a floppy drive, CD, DVD, and just good times, good times. So that's this build. We're going to move forward with it, and we're going to get ready for part 2. So in part 2 of this video, you don't want to miss it. We're going to upgrade this. We're going to put a whole bunch of stuff, just give you a sneak peek. We're going to jam pack it with some new stuff, CPUs, all that stuff, see if we can get this game to play a lot better, see if we can enjoy our other games and get some better improvements, and really max this thing out for our 2003 Pentium 4 retro build and still try to have some fun. So if you like this video, definitely hit the like button, comment down below if you have any thoughts or suggestions or things that you remember or things that you would do to better improve this Pentium 4 computer. If you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next. Oh, and the tape is because I have this sitting in storage and I don't want anything to make a home in here or get nasty or gross or kind of damage this. So while it sits, once I'm done with this, at least this will kind of keep it a little sealed from it, because I've opened a computer a time or two and I found some dead critters, and I've had critters jump at me, and we ain't about that life when I do decide to play with this computer in the future. But that's why we have this green tape over here.